Welcome to the practice tutorial review for supporting details 3.1. So again, main ideas and supporting details, they go hand in hand. Now, main idea, as a reminder, involves the subject or topic of what you're talking about. So the main idea is what the article or piece of work or paragraph is about. But how you arrive at that conclusion is based upon the supporting details. Now, after reading the notes or watching the tutorial of the notes, again, we have various different types of supporting details, especially how everything is structured. And we'll get into also major supporting details and minor supporting details. As a reminder, just quick reference, major supporting details involves the use of what we call signal words or transitions. They could be like first, next, also, in the end, finally. Those are major supporting details. Minor supporting details come after those major supporting details, and they're usually statistics or information to further support those major supporting details. And so that'll come with practice, I know, in a bit. But it's a way to categorize but overall, both of them are supporting details. So in this case, we're going to look at question 1 here, and this is what your assignment will look like for this week. So you're going to read, and then you're going to tell me how many supporting details are there. Are there 3 major, 4 major, or 5 in this first one here? So looking at question 1, it says, to be effective, feedback on someone's work must have certain characteristics. First, it must be timely, occurring soon after the work has been done. Second, it must be accurate. The best work should get the most positive feedback. The poorest work should get the most negative feedback. Finally, feedback should be tailored to the recipient, expressed in a way suited to that person's personality and abilities. Now, when finding these supporting details, you have to first find what the main idea is here. There is no way around it, because if you don't figure out what the main idea is, then how are you going to figure out what the details are supporting? What details are supporting what? So we know here what kept coming up here. Again, you're going to look, and what sentence tells me it is the main idea here. What are they talking about? Well, again, the main idea here is sentence 1. To be effective, feedback on someone's work must have certain characteristics. And they give you the indication here too, these little asterisks. So here's your main idea. And so they're going to tell you have certain characteristics. So that is your list word. So you know it's going to be a list. So the fact that you're looking for just the major supporting details indicate, again, that you're looking for signal words, transitions. And so the first one we come to is a very common one. First, it must be timely. So this sentence is the first major detail. So that's 1. Another major detail is the next sentence, second. And then if we scroll down, this right here, the second, it must be accurate. And then the sentence that comes after it, the best work should get the most positive feedback, the poorest. This is called a minor detail because it's just giving you information to this second major detail. So far we have 2 major details. And then you're going to go down here to the after this minor detail. But finally, a very common major detail, transition. So there is a total of 3 major supporting details for question 1. So again, you're going to go through these, and again, you may come across in your assignments or even in your works, homework assignments as well. They may not indicate to you what is the main idea, so you're going to have to look for it, and then look for any transitions. Those are going to be your major supporting details. The minor details, again, are the sentences that don't have the transitions, and they come after the major supporting detail. They give you further information. They'll give you examples. They'll give you statistics, and so on. So let's look at, let's jump down to question 2 here. Different parts of the world have different staple foods. Before global cuisine, the staple food in Europe and the Middle East was wheat, from which breads and cereals were made. In the Americas, the original staple food was corn, and breads were cornbreads. In Asia, the staple food was, and still is, rice. So, on here, we are talking about, again, different types of staple food. That kept reoccurring. That is our topic. So, what sentence is the main idea? Well, right here, the first one, different parts of the world have different staple foods. And so, if we look here, how many major supporting details do we have? 2, 3, 4? So we'll look here. Before global cuisine, the staple food in Europe and Middle East was wheat. So that's 1. And so it's, again, they're talking about different parts of the world. Well, we're talking about Europe and Middle East. That is 1. That's 1 major supporting detail. In the Americas, so that's another way of using a transition. In the Americas, so this is another part of the world. So we're talking about Europe and Middle East. Now we're talking about Americas. In the Americas, the original staple food was corn. So that's 2 major supporting details. Now another comment. In Asia, the staple food was, still is, rice. So that's 3 major supporting details. So again, they use transitions. In this case, they use the transitions. We knew it's going to be different parts of the world. So they say the staple food in Europe and Middle East, in the Americas, and in Asia. So there are 3 major supporting details. Let's look at number 4. Actually, let's go to 3. I'm sorry. If you sprain or twist your ankle, there are several things you should do. Ice the injured area right away. If possible, continue to apply ice every half hour for a day or 2. Secondly, rest your ankle until it is less swollen and painful. You can also compress it as well. Wrap it firmly, but not too tightly with athletic tape. Last, raise your ankle, for example, by sitting in a chair and placing your leg on a footstool. These measures will help control pain and further prevent damage. So what we're looking at here is we're talking about the ankle and what has happened to this ankle. So the main idea here is if you sprain or twist your ankle, there are several things you should do. Well, what are those several things? That's your key word here, several things. Well, 1 is ice the injured area right away. So that's 1. That's 1 major detail. And then here's a minor detail. If possible, continue to apply ice every half hour for a day or 2. So it's giving you more information about icing that. And what the several things you should do, this is going to be a list. They're listing these major supporting details here. So it is 1 is ice the injured area. Secondly, so there is a transition there. Secondly, rest your ankle until there's less swollen and painful. So that's 2. All right, that is 2. 3 is you can also compress it well. Compress. So here's another transition. It didn't come in the beginning, but it came in the middle. Also. Secondly, also, that's 3 major supporting details. And then last, raise your ankle. So that is 4 major supporting details so far. And the fact that it says last, no, it's like saying finally. So that would be our last major supporting detail. So there are 4. Now you may ask yourself, what is this last sentence? Then these measures will help control pain and further prevent damage. In a way, this is, again, just a minor detail. All right, it is a minor detail. So you have 4 major supporting details. And then let's go with one last one. Let's go to the last one here, number 10. This one's a little longer. So again, we'll work with this. So it says, Americans vary widely in their view of government's proper role in people's lives. Conservatives want government to uphold traditional social values, but do not want it to provide economic support to those in need. Approximately 31% of Americans are conservatives. In contrast to conservatives, liberals believe that government should not interfere with people's social values, but should provide economic support to those in need. Liberals make up about 13% of the US population. Populists agree with conservatives about social issues, but with liberals about economic issues, they want government to play a major role in both areas. About 17% of Americans are populists who tend to engage in the most government activism. Most committed to individual freedom, libertarians, about 24% of Americans, are opposed to government intervention in both social and economic matters. So here, we know we're talking about the various types of government and the different types of people and the role of government. So if we look at the sentence one here, this is the main idea. Americans vary widely in their view of government's proper role in people's lives. So we're going to look for the major supporting details. So as we look through, we have the choice between 2 major supporting details, 4, or even 6. So we know it's about Americans vary widely in their view of government proper role. So let's look for this role that they talk about. Well, if we look here, let's look at conservatives, because again, we're talking about how the Americans, their view of government. Well, conservatives, that's the type. The conservatives want government to uphold traditional social value. That's one major supporting detail. That's how they view it. This is the major. The minor detail is approximately 31% of, because this is also giving a statistic of the conservatives. All right. So conservatives are one group. Another group, we're going to jump out here, in contrast to conservatives. So this showing a difference. This is another major supporting detail. In contrast, liberals. Okay, so this is a major supporting detail here. So that's 2 major supporting details. All right, and then they're going to give you a minor detail here, the statistic. Liberals make up 13%. That is a minor detail. Here's another major supporting detail now. So we talked about conservatives, liberals. Now we're talking about populists agree with conservatives. So that's a major supporting detail. And again, they're going to give us another minor detail here about the populists, that 17% of Americans are populists. All right, and then major supporting detail 4, most committed to individual freedom, libertarians. That is the 4th major supporting detail. So that would be number 4. Now, again, it is a bit confusing. I know you may be looking for transitions, and transitions are there from first, next, also major supporting details. It's a list. In this case, they're talking about the roles of government of people's lives. So we're talking about different groups. So we talked about conservatives. That's one major supporting detail. We talked about liberals, populists, and libertarians. So again, you're looking at the different major supporting details are the ones that support the main idea. How are they going to arrive? And always ask yourself, how or why? How will they do this? To what extent? And then minor details are always the ones with statistics, usually information like they did here, like the giving you percentages, 31, 13, 17%, 24, and so on. So hopefully you found this helpful with supporting details. This brings us to an end to the practice tutorial review for 3.1 supporting details. Make sure to read carefully. Look for always the main idea prior to looking for the supporting detail. Because if you don't know what the main idea is, you're not going to be able to find the correct supporting details that will support the main idea. Thank you.